Hi, welcome to the video training of React.js, and in this video training we will be learning about React Lifecycle. The lifecycle has several components. Each component in React has a lifecycle which you can monitor and manipulate during its three main phases. The three main phases are mounting, updating and unmounting. Let's look at the first phase, that is mounting. Mounting means putting elements into the DOM. React has four built-in methods that gets called in this order when mounting a component. The first one is constructor, the second one is get derived state from props, the third one is render, and the fourth one is component did mount. The render method is required and will always be called. The others are optional and will be called if you define them. The first one is constructor. The constructor method is called before anything else when the component is initialized, and it is the natural place to set up the initial state and other initial values. The constructor method is called with the props as arguments, and you should always start by calling the super props before anything else. This will initiate the parent's constructor method and allows the component to inherit methods from its parent, that is React component class. Let's look at our example of constructor method. So I'm going to open the JS file which we'll be using here, and then we also need the index.html file which is the view of the HTML, and here is our targeted div, that is id root, which we will be using in this training. Okay, let's code the first example here. I'm going to comment this code from the previous training and can go here. Okay, so class header extends react dot component. Okay, and I'm going to define the constructor which receives an argument props, and we can pass props to the parent class which is react dot component. This dot state equals favorite color, and you can say to red. Okay, so that's it for the constructor. Then we have, as usual, the render function, return, and within the brackets we define our HTML h1. My favorite color is, and here I can use the state object, state dot favorite color, and close the h1 tag here, and we're going to render the header class component here in our root, and that's it. Save this file and let's go to the console and kick off the React project npm start. Okay, so we have this, my favorite color is red, which we used in the header component class, and we use the state object and we use the constructor. So this is the first method of the mounting phase. Let's look at the second one. The second one is get derived state from props. This method is called right before rendering the elements in the DOM. This is the natural place to set the state object based on the initial props. It takes state as an argument and returns an object with changes to the state. The next code starts with the favorite color being red, but the get derived state from props method updates the favorite color based on the favCall attribute. Okay, let's look at this example. It is the same code as we just did in the previous example, but this code have an additional function, that is a static function, get derived state from props, which is defined just after the constructor method. Static get derived state from props, and we are getting props and state as an argument, and we are returning favorite color colon props dot favCall, and then we have the return method as usual, and in this return method nothing is being changed in the render method, but when we are rendering the header class component, we are passing a variable favCall and giving it a value yellow. Let's save the file and run it in the browser. You can see our function get derived state from props have changed the color from red to yellow because it was called right before the render method. Okay, the render method that actually outputs the HTML to the DOM, and it only is used for rendering, so it is called aside all of the aspects. So you have already seen the render method we have used in our code previously in this playlist and here as well. So there's nothing special about the render method, so we can go to the next one, which is component did mount. The component did mount method is called after the component is rendered. This is where you run statements that requires that the component is already in the DOM, placed in the DOM. So let's get back to our example, and this time we are going to use a new method that is called component small component did mount function, and within that function we are going to use set timeout function, and we are going to use an arrow function here, setting this dot set state and favorite color colon yellow. Okay, and set it to 1 second. 1000 means 1000 milliseconds, which is equal to 1 second. Then we have the render method, and at the end we are rendering it in the DOM, so no need for the variable in this example. Let's run it in the browser. Okay, if you refresh it, you see my favorite color is red, but exactly after 1 second it is updated to yellow. So for this example we use the component did mount function, which changed the state of the color. Okay, the next phase in the life cycle is when a component is updated. It is called updating. A component is updated whenever there is a change in the component state or props. React has 5 built-in functions or methods that gets called in this order when a component is updated. The first one is get derived state from props. Second one is should component update. Then we have the render function as usual, and then there is get snapshot before update, and at the end we have component did update. Let's look at get derived state from props. Also at updates, the get derived state from props method is called. This is the first method that is called when a component gets updated. This is still the natural place to set the state object based on the initial props. The next code has a button that changes the favorite color to blue, but since the get derived state from props method is called, which updates the state with the color from the fav color attribute, the favorite color is still rendered as yellow. So let's look at this example. In this example, I'm going to use a function called get derived state from props, and we are receiving props and state as an argument, and within this function we are returning favorite color colon props dot favcol. Okay, and then we have a new function called change color equals arrow function, and within this change color we are going to use this dot state, and we are going to change favorite color variable to blue. Okay, and in the render function there are also some changes. The h1 will be my favorite color is this dot state dot favorite color, and right after the h1 tag we are going to define a button tag, because we need a button to change the color of our text. This dot change color, and this is the label of the button, and let's include them in the div, both of these elements. Okay, and in the header we are going to pass favcol equals yellow. Save the file, go to the put. See, my favorite color is yellow. I'm going to hit change color, but nothing is happening because the component method is getting updated. As we defined here, method is called which updates the state with the color from the fav color attribute. The favorite color is still rendered as yellow. Okay, let's look at the second important component method, that is should component update. In the should component update method, you can return a boolean value that specifies whether React should continue with the rendering or not. The default value is true. The next example shows what happens when the should component update methods return false. Okay, coming back to our code, we need a new function here. Okay, let's keep change color as it is and define a new function should component update, and let's return false. Everything else stays the same. And one more thing, we need to get rid of this here, and everything else is same. Okay, let's save the file, go to the browser. Okay, my favorite color is red. Change color. You see it has stopped the rendering of the component at any update because we passed return false in the should component update method. It stopped the rendering of updating any HTML component in the DOM. Okay, let's try with true. Save the file and the browser. If I click change color now, you can see the change. The color is now blue because we are passing true in the should component update method. So you can use this method to manipulate the rendering of the update state of different objects in your application. Okay, the next one is get snapshot before update. In the get snapshot before update method, you have access to the props and state before the update, meaning that even after the update you can check what the values were before the update. In the get snapshot before update method is present, you should also include the component did update method, otherwise you will get an error. The example we will be looking at next might seem complicated, but all it does is this. When the component is mounting, it is rendered with the favorite color red. When the component has been mounted, a timer changes the state, and after 1 second the favorite color becomes yellow. This action triggers the update phase, and since this component has a get snapshot before update method, this method is executed and writes a message to the empty div1 element. Then the component did update method is executed and writes a message in the empty div2 element. Okay, let's look at this example. Okay, use the get snapshot before update method to find out what the state object looked like before the update. So we have the header class component already. Okay, the constructor stays the same. Okay, here we need component did mount function. Component did mount function, and with this function we are going to set timeout. Arrow function, this dot set state, favorite color colon yellow. This piece of code will change the color to yellow exactly after 1 second. Now we are going to define the function in discussion, that is get snapshot before update, and within this function we are going to pass prev props and prev state. Okay, and document dot get element by id div1 dot inner html equals before the update the favorite was, and use previous state dot favorite color. Okay, this will give us the favorite color of the previous state before changing the color to the new state. Then we have to define a function called component did component did update. We already have component did mount the top. I'm going to copy this from here and use it here. So this is div2, and this function is basically executed just after the component have been updated. So I can say that the updated favorite is and current state, this dot state dot favorite color. So this gives us the current updated color. Then we have the change color. We don't need the change color function in this example, so I can comment this out. Then we have the render function, and within the render function we are going with the h1 as same as before. Then we need couple of divs. One is div 1. Okay, let's make a copy of this and name it div id 2. Okay, that's about it. Let's save the file and let's see the results in the browser. Okay, so as you can see, as I refresh the page, it says my favorite color is red, and after 1 second it is updated to my favorite color is yellow. And below that you can see we have the text. Before the update the color was red, so we have fetched the previous favorite color using the get snapshot before update function, this one. So it is a very useful and handy function if you want to get the previous state of the element, and this can help you in undoing a certain task or certain UI rendering that you didn't want to do, and you can undo it through this function. Okay, the next one is component did update. We have already used this function in this example. So this is the function component did update, and it gave us the current or updated state favorite color. So this is the same example that we just ran through, so I can skip this example here. Okay, the last step or the last phase is of the life cycle of React.js is unmounting. The next phase in the life cycle is when a component is removed from the DOM, or unmounting as React likes to call it. React has only one built-in method that gets called when a component is unmounted. That is, component will unmount. The component will unmount method is called when the component is about to be removed from the DOM. So let's get back to our example. We have the header class here, which we can change to container class component, and in the constructor we have props, and in this dot stay we can change it to show :true. Okay, then we have del header arrow function, and we are going to change the state of the state variable show, so I can say show : false, and then we have the render method here. Okay, getting rid of all these things. Render. Okay, in the render method we are going to define a variable, let my header. Okay, and you can say if this dot state dot show means if the state of show is true, then I can say my header equals child. Child is another class component which we will be defining next. And after this we have return, we have div, and right after that we have my header, and then we have the button type equals button, and you can say on click this dot del header, and label of the button delete header, button tag closed. Okay, and div tag closed. That's for the render function. Now we are going to define a child class component. So class child extends react dot component. Okay, and we are going to use component will unmount function, and in this we are going to alert the component named header is about to be unmounted. So this is the function in subject, and this will be triggered just before the header component is about to be deleted or unmounted. And then we have the render function, which is mandatory to render the HTML for each component. Okay, have the h1 tag, hello world, close the h1 tag, and return is closed here. Okay, and we are passing container class component. Okay, that is the parent class. Let's run it. So we have hello world, delete header button, and my favorite color is text. In this example, we didn't needed the favorite color thing because it's not about the previous example, so I can get rid of this here. Okay, save the file. Now refresh the page. We have just hello world and delete header. Now I'm going to hit the delete header button. Let's see what happens. You see, I got a alert, JavaScript alert, that says the component named header is about to be unmounted or deleted. Unmounted means to be removed. It is going to be removed from the DOM. I pressed OK, and you see the hello world is gone. So this is also an important function. Component will unmount. You can say it is kind of a destructor function that we have in different languages, which is an opposite of the constructor function. So that's it for this video training. I hope that you have learned the basic components of React Lifecycle and the functions that consist of different phases. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you next time with a new topic in React.js.